Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through the noise to bring you the insights you need quickly.
And today, we're diving into a really interesting conversation with Dr. Salman Khatani.
Yes, focusing on his views on future studies, foresight, and importantly, the impact of AI, especially for young people in Pakistan. You flag this, wanting to sort of get a grip on these big forces shaping things.
Exactly. Our mission here is to unpack Dr. Khatani's thinking. How do we navigate these rapid tech changes, climate change, the shifting global powers?
And crucially, how do we equip young people for what's coming?
Precisely.
Okay, so our guide here, Dr. Salman Khatani, PhD from Karachi University, has links with George Washington University. He's been deep in future studies since, what, 2000?
Yeah, a long time. He runs a course now at Ikra University, definitely not just jumping on a bandwagon.
Okay, good context. So let's get into it. Dr. Khatani starts by really emphasizing how vital future studies and foresight are.
Especially, he argues, for a country like Pakistan, you've got, what, 64% of the population under 30? That's huge.
Wow, yeah. And his point is that future studies isn't just like gazing into a crystal ball, right?
Not at all. He sees it as providing a structured, almost scientific method
For what exactly?
for young people to actually create jobs, build a sustainable future. It gives them a framework to be proactive, not just reactive.
And this isn't some niche idea he's pushing alone.
No, he points out UNESCO labeled future studies a fundamental capacity back in 2018.
Okay.
And they've even collaborated with Ikra University to promote it in Pakistan.
Plus, there's this concept you mentioned, futures literacy.
Right, another UNESCO thing. The goal there is basically to bring this kind of foresight thinking to, well, everyone.
Sort of democratizing the future.
That's a good way to put it. It's about helping people understand the future isn't, set in stone.
It's full of possibilities.
Exactly, and that what we do now really matters in shaping it, moving away from just accepting what comes.
Towards actively engaging with potential futures. That makes sense.
He talks about students actually developing future stories, digging into emerging trends.
What I found interesting was the emphasis on hope and agency. This feeling that you can be an architect of what's next.
Yeah, and that ties into a really fascinating, slightly complex idea he raises,
Which is?
the concept of a colonial future.
Okay, what does that mean?
The possibility that our ideas about the future, our aspirations, might be unconsciously shaped by, external forces or historical baggage.
Ah, I see. So futures literacy helps you push back against that.
It helps you step back, become aware, and consciously define the future you want, based on your own past, your present actions.
Taking control of that narrative, that feels powerful.
And he brings it down to earth, too. Says we're all doing a bit of this all the time.
How so?
His example is simple. Brushing your teeth. You do it now for a healthier future tomorrow.
Huh. Okay, I get that. It's about anticipating consequences.
Exactly. And this future thinking is becoming critical everywhere. He mentions policing, predictive analytics, cybercrime.
And obviously in business, with all the AI tools coming online.
For sure.
So the big question, is this having any real impact? He mentions numbers, right?
Yeah, over 15,000 students have taken the course since 2020. That's quite a lot of people exposed to this thinking.
And the feedback, what are they saying?
Apparently, the graduates report seeing things differently, a broader perspective.
Understanding how, global issues connect to their local reality.
Precisely. Seeing those links more clearly.
And it seems young people are really grabbing onto it.
Well, yeah, because it gives them a chance to actually think about their future, make choices, not just drift.
That future literacy platform seems keep mapping possibilities, probabilities.
And preferences. What future do you want? It connects individual hopes with bigger goals.
Like social development, sustainability.
Building something better for the next generation. It ties it all together.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly. AI. The elephant in the room, maybe?
Huh. Often is. There's that common fear, right? AI taking all the jobs.
Dr. Khatani addresses that directly.
He does. He draws parallels, calculators, computers. People worried then, too.
But those didn't lead to mass unemployment.
Not really. Roles changed. And he actually cites the World Economic Forum predicting 2.3 million new jobs by 2030 because of these shifts.
So it's evolution, not elimination.
Largely, yes. Think ATMs tellers didn't vanish. Their jobs adapted.
Right. And e-commerce, while disrupting retail.
Created this huge boom in logistics, digital marketing, supply chain management.
So the risk isn't AI itself, but maybe not adapting.
That seems to be his point. Job losses are more likely for those who don't upskill or reskill.
He mentioned something called vibe coding. Sounds intriguing.
Yeah, it's this idea of using like natural language to instruct AI to build things, less need for deep traditional coding skills.
So it lowers the barrier to entry for entrepreneurship.
Potentially, yeah, for people who maybe face challenges accessing traditional tech education.
And the accessibility of tools like ChatGPT. You mentioned it's in Urdu.
Which is huge in the context of Pakistan. Breaks down a massive language barrier instantly.
He told a story about that, didn't he? A farmer.
Yeah, using ChatGPT in Urdu to diagnose crop problems apparently significantly boosted his yield and efficiency.
Wow. That's a concrete example of empowerment,
Yeah.
overcoming knowledge gaps.
Totally. Dr. Khatani sees AI as this, well, revolutionary force, pushing towards maybe a fifth industrial revolution.
And a major opportunity for countries like Pakistan with that huge youth demographic.
A chance to potentially leapfrog some traditional development stages.
Okay, so if AI is changing the game, what skills do we need?
It's a shift, he says, away from the repetitive routine stuff AI can handle.
Towards more human skills.
Exactly. Adaptability, empathy, communication, critical thinking, sometimes called power skills or soft skills.
He contrasted that with training for the second industrial revolution, more about memorization, following orders.
Right. Now the emphasis needs to be on creativity, innovation, problem solving.
And he sees new opportunities emerging in fields like ethics, law.
Economic, social, political fields too. Anywhere that needs nuanced human judgment.
But some jobs are likely to disappear faster.
Things like basic data entry, certain types of sales roles involving repetitive tasks. Those seem vulnerable.
He brought up an interesting point about the speed of change, though.
Yeah, contrasting automation rates in, say, the U.S. versus job growth in similar sectors in Karachi.
So how fast will these trends hit different places? That's a key question.
It is, and that uncertainty highlights why scenario planning is so crucial in future studies.
Right, thinking through different possibilities. He used examples like drone pizza delivery.
Or air taxis? Things that sound sci-fi now but could disrupt transport. He even mentioned some institutions predicted a pandemic pre-COVID.
So it's about being prepared for multiple potential futures, not just one.
Exactly. The future isn't fixed. It's about choice, agency, recognizing there are many paths.
And he connects finding meaning in your work, having that choice.
To being more efficient, more responsible towards society, the environment, it's all linked.
Creating sustainable projects with real impact.
Yeah, driven by young people.
Okay, but what about the digital divide? You mentioned Pakistan's internet access is around 44%. How do these ideas reach everyone?
That's a major challenge, for sure. But he sees a potential breakthrough with open-source LLMs.
Like China's DeepSeek model he mentioned, making the tech more accessible.
Potentially, yes. The idea is that institutions could even create their own localized LLMs.
Trained on local data for local problems.
Exactly. His example was using unemployment data for, say, predictive policing, anticipating unrest or petty crime, using AI for specific local needs.
And thinking ahead about problems like cyberbullying.
Right. Using future studies, foresight literacy, AI literacy to strategize before things happen, develop policies in advance.
Makes sense. Planning ahead makes implementation easier when incidents occur.
Now, underlying all this change is, well, fear. It's natural.
He acknowledges that.
Absolutely. Fear is important for survival. But he reminds us we also have logic, rationality, intuition, emotion.
And imagination.
Crucially, imagination. Future Studies encourages using all these capacities to envision and shape the future.
Because the future doesn't exist yet, imagination is kind of the only way to access it.
That's the core idea. He mentioned their collaborations, UNESCO, ISESCO, the Dubai Futures Forum. It's a global conversation.
Understanding this human-technology relationship.
Especially with AI. We need to get familiar, adopt, align with these powerful trends.
While being aware of the threats, which might look different in poorer versus richer countries.
Definitely. And that story of the woman in Karachi learning about future studies via ChatGPT in Urdu.
From her home. That really drives home the potential for access and empowerment.
It does. But with that easy access to information via AI...
the fundamental questions become even more important.
Exactly. Your worldview, your philosophy, whose interests are being served, what future do you actually want? Those questions become central.
Which leads to the need for ethical frameworks, regulations.
Yeah, and he mentioned Pakistan is forming a committee for that. It's like how we adapted to texting, evolving language like Roman Urdu.
We integrate new technologies.
And now we're entering the era of GPTs, he calls it. Creating AI agents for innovation, solving local issues.
But it can't just be about global case studies. Local context is key.
Absolutely. Indigenous knowledge matters. And AI tools can potentially help bridge that gap for people facing language or tech barriers.
He suggested setting up institutions to train people, especially those out of school, on using tools like ChatGPT,
Yes, building that AI literacy across the board,
and a specific opportunity for empowering women in Pakistan.
enabling them to learn, upskill, maybe work online right from home.
So acquiring these future-focused skills becomes a way to align personal change with societal change.
Creating new pathways for progress.
Exactly.
And we're seeing this shift where AI takes over the memory-based data crunching tasks.
Freeing up humans for more creative, strategic work. He mentioned trends like shorter work weeks, project-based work elsewhere.
Which could mean more autonomy, people working on things they're passionate about. That's the potential. He referenced research showing many people dislike their jobs, which fuels talks about things like universal basic income.
How can we enable more meaningful contributions?
To humanity, to the ecosystem, it opens up big questions.
And the nature of work is changing. Remote work, metaverse platforms, AR, VR.
For sure. Young people in Pakistan are already working for global employers this way.
Which is why he stresses introducing these concepts early. Future studies in preschool.
Yeah, to challenge stereotypes early on, like firefighter is male, nurse is female.
Futures literacy helps kids deconstruct where those ideas even come from.
And that reflection early on helps them grapple with paradoxes, contradictions later.
He mentioned the Delphi technique, too.
Yeah.
Getting diverse expert views.
To create alternative scenarios, avoid groupthink, find inclusive solutions, not just one narrow view of the future.
And this focus on the future, it's not just for the young, right?
No, he stressed it's relevant for everyone, all age groups. And thinking about well-being, work-life balance, even in demanding jobs like law enforcement.
He shared that anecdote about the older gentleman using ChatGPT voice mode.
Just to get quick answers, finding it empowering for everyday things.
But there's a difference between just knowing about AI.
And truly understanding how it can empower you personally. That's a key distinction he makes.
And that final story about the university cleaner's daughter.
Using ChatGPT to tutor, study Islamic scholarship, discuss complex topics, bringing real hope to her community. Just incredibly powerful.
Yeah. So he wraps up with this call for collective action.
The future isn't individualistic, it's built together.
Yeah.
Shared actions matter.
Actions focused on empathy, equality, compassion, inclusivity.
Collaboration is the way forward, he argues. Competition is kind of outdated thinking.
Well, huge thanks virtually to Dr. Khatani for those insights. Incredibly thought-provoking stuff on future studies, foresight, and AI.
Absolutely.
So for you listening, the big takeaway seems to be the future isn't just something that happens to you.
No, you have agency. Understanding these trends, using these tools, you can actively shape it.
Which brings us to that final thought. Consider those colonial futures Dr. Khatani mentioned. Are there any you might be subscribing to without realizing it?
And maybe more importantly, what steps can you take starting today, using these ideas from future studies, leveraging AI?
To consciously design a future that aligns with your values, your aspirations. Something to mull over.
Definitely. That's your deep dive for today.